It's time for my first ever save game in Football Manager 26. With 129 men's leagues across 58 nations in the new game, I had plenty of options to choose from. So after careful consideration, I decided to take on a team in France, playing in Ligue 1 and a part of the Blue Code group. Of course, my first save game is going to be at Strasbourg. I'm going to give myself 5 seasons at the club with the aim of knocking PSG off of their perch as the #1 club in France, and plan to use my link up with Chelsea and clever youth recruitment to do it. Let's get into it. Here we go. Welcome to Strasbourg. I'm now in charge at the club, so let's take a little look around before we show you what happens in season #1. We begin the game with a first team squad of 28 players. As you can see from the key players on the screen, Ben Chilwell, Emmanuel Amiga, and Julio Enciso. These are all players that have links to Blueco and Chelsea in one form or another, whether that be a player leaving Chelsea, a player joining Chelsea, or a player that we just don't know in terms of Enciso. Guess we'll find out as we go along. But we'll come back to the squad in just a second. Moving on to the youth setup, we have an impressive overall youth rating. That is going to be key to this save. Whether we recruit from outside, players under 21, or we take on players through our youth intakes, we are going to look to develop the youth as we go along, give them a pathway into the first team, because I feel that is key if we're going to challenge PSG in the long term. In terms of the club's history, we have won Ligue 1 once, that being in the 78-79 season. We are now going to look to bring the club into the modern day by beating PSG to the title once again. This season, we will compete in Ligue 1, the Europa Conference League, and the Coupe de France. Let's then take a look at this squad. So as I said, we are linked to Chelsea everywhere. From the top of the pitch, where we have goalkeeper on loan, Mike Penders. We also have Mamadou Sarr, who is on loan from Chelsea, our first choice centre-back. We also have Lucas Hoogsberg. He's going to be our first choice right-back, and a player that I think at 19 years old will stick with us throughout the entire save. We can develop him into a world-class right-back. We also have Valentin Barco, former player at Brighton, former wonder kid at Brighton, lost his way a little bit, but has now settled into a new role at Strasbourg, playing as a central midfielder, and has not looked back. He's another one we're going to look to keep at the club and really develop into that world-class wonder kid that we know he can be. We have Ben Chilwell, as mentioned, from Chelsea. We have Rafael Luis. He's a player on loan from Benfica. This one has an optional 8.75 million transfer fee attached to the loan. So I think this is a player that we are going to pick up for cheap at the end of the first season. Moving further down, we also have Kendry Paez, another player linked to Chelsea. He's one that I think we have no chance of signing permanently, but we will give it everything to see if we can muster up the money and lean on Chelsea enough to bring him back to the club, even if it's just in the short term. And then further down, we have Sam Amo Amoya. He's a player who has come through leaps and bounds since joining the club. I think he could be one that really fights for a first team place on the right wing. And then we get into the big names. So we have Joaquin Panicelli, a signing from Spain in the summer in real life. He's gone on to be a bit of a phenomenon, becoming the top scorer in Ligue 1. He's one that we're going to look to develop as we go along. And then we have Emmanuel Amiga, player that I don't really know what to do with. He's a world-class player in terms of his potential, but he isn't going to be our player for much longer. So do we use him in the first season and then just allow him to naturally drift off to Chelsea and maybe try and bring him back on loan? I'm not too sure. What I think we might do is try and replace him in the short term. So when we get into the next season, we're going to have a player ready to step into his shoes. So that is our squad. I think we are set up for a really good season. In terms of our tactics that we're going to use this season, so this is the combined screen. Let's have a little look at both. So what I like to do is play expansive football. You can see here we have a gegenpress that is set to attacking, but we're actually going to drop that back to positive. And we are going to set up like this. So we'll have just a normal goalkeeper, 2 wing backs, with one becoming a pressing wing back. So he's going to come into the centre to give our defensive midfielder a bit of support. We then have 2 centre backs. We have 2 central midfielders. We have an inside winger, an inside forward, and a poacher at the top of the pitch. We also are then going to set up out of possession in a 4-2-3-1 shape. So hopefully what this will do is give us some nice overloads in the attack. And when we don't have the ball, we drop back and sit compact, hopefully soak up all of the pressure that the opposition are going to bring to us. Now, in terms of the league, obviously, PSG are going to be the big challenge, but we also need to look out for Marseille and Monaco because I think there's teams that are going to be really strong. The rest of them, I think we can really outthink with our tactic. The rest then, in terms of the portal, let's go back and have a look at what the club visions are. So the club want us to grow the club's reputation and they want to work within the wage budget. And really, that is all they want. I think they want us to continue to grow the club and we are going to try to do that. Obviously, the aim is to win Ligue 1. So that's a brief introduction to the club. Let's jump in and have a look at what's happening in season number 1. We would kick our season off away from home at Metz, who proved themselves to be worthy opponents. We would have to dig deep and work hard to break them down, but did so thanks to goals from Sam Amoamoya and some brilliant build-up play which put in La Marshall for a 2-0 win. This would be followed up by our first home game of the season as we welcome Nantes. This game would be a great introduction to the home fans as goals from Amiga, Kendry Paez and some fantastic team play put in Nanasi for a 3-1 victory. Our first test of the season would be away at Monaco, a game that was end-to-end as Monaco drew first blood thanks to Balogun before an almost instant response from Amiga. Monaco retook the lead right on the stroke of half-time, and this would mean we have to throw everything at them in the second half. And luckily for us, we found an equaliser thanks to Amoamoya to earn a valuable point. During the first weeks of the season, we would have a few injuries, with the most notable being Panicelli, who misses 7 weeks with a broken toe. That is not the ideal preparation for the biggest game so far as we face PSG. Here we go then, we are lining up for the biggest game of the season so far. We're going to try and take on PSG and play them at their own game. Hernandez out to Kvaratskhelia, plays it inside to Mendes. It's cut out by Amoamoya. He's going to get in on goal. Can he get across? No, he can't. He goes out to the wing. Can he find a pass? Does. He finds Moriera on the edge of the box. Can he have a shot? Gets the shot away. It's turned around the corner. Hogsberg. We're on the attack here with Amoamoya. Plays the ball through to Amiga. He shoots for goal and he scores the first goal of the game. Emmanuel Amiga. What are we going to do without him? Fantastic bit of play here from Amoamoya. But PSG have a corner. It's crossed in. It's headed away. Only as far as Vitinha. Kvaratskhelia with a shot. Hits the crossbar. Chilwell will get it away. He gives it in back. Paez is going to beat his man. Get into the box. Crosses it in. Amiga's there. And the ball bounces in off of Marquinhos. It's 2-0. Can you believe it? We are really giving it to PSG at the moment. What a Fabian. Kvaratskhelia again. Ramos tries to pass back, but it gets intercepted, and Amoamoya is now on the attack. Is he going to get into the box? He does. Is he going to have the shot? No, he's not. He's brought down. It's going to be a penalty. It's going to VAR, but we can see clear as day. He was about to release the shot. Gets brought down for a penalty. That ball is about to be put on the spot. Lucas Hernandez has also been sent off. If ever there was an opportunity now to put PSG away, this is surely it. Barco has put the ball on the spot. He's going to step back and take this penalty. He looks at the ref, takes the steps back. Barco steps up and makes it 3-0. We are now surely home and dry. PSG down to 10, us 3-0 up. Really played well in this game. Steals the ball back. Amiga's in the box. It's 4-0. Can you believe it? We are 4-0 up against PSG at this stage of the season. This is a massive, massive result. And that's it, full time, and we have won 4-0. What a performance from the boys. Fantastic, all over the pitch, goals galore. Brilliant, brilliant day. We are flying. After that important 4-0 victory against Paris Saint-Germain, we are now 8 games into the league season. And as you can see, we are currently sat in second place or joint top. Both of us have win-loss records of 6 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss. And importantly for us, we are building a gap to the teams behind. Marseille and Lille are both 6 points behind us already. That will be important as we go into the later phases of the season. Some of our most important performers at this stage of the season are Sam Amoamoya. You've seen him in the clips, scoring goals, creating goals at this stage of the season. He has a 7.6 average rating for all competitions. Emmanuel Amiga, even though he's a player that is going to leave to go to Chelsea at the end of the first season, he has really stepped up with Panicelli being out injured. He currently has 5 goals across all competitions and his average rating of 7.38. And Valentin Barco is showing signs of improvement. He's been fantastic in his new role as a central midfielder, creating the most assists for the club and also averaging 7.13 in terms of his average rating. So we have started fantastic. We are now going to push on as we get further into the season and see what happens. Next up, we would be in Europa Conference League action as we beat Olympia 1-0, thanks to a stunning Decore strike. Following on from that was a tough away trip to Lyon as we would fall to our second defeat of the season. Martin Satriano would get the only goal in a game where we were wasteful. In the run-up to Christmas, we would be able to welcome back both Panicelli and Julio Enciso as we go on the road to play Lens, where we turned in a fantastic performance. Panicelli would open the scoring early, or Barco would get another before half-time. Then, an own goal from Baidu would make it 3-0, before Amiga headed home a fourth following some brilliant work and a Ben Chilwell cross. So after that run of games, we are now 16 games into the league season and we have reached the 14th of December, which means we are now on a winter break from league action until January. Looking at the league table, we are still in second place. We are clinging on to PSG and keeping them true to their word. They have 39 points, we have 37. We've achieved 12 wins, 1 draw and 3 losses in those 16 games. Teams in behind us are clinging on to us, with Lille and Rennes in 3rd and 4th. And then a big gap is now opening to Marseille and Monaco, who've had poor starts to the first half of the season. In the Europa Conference League, we are currently sat in 7th place after 5 games and we have achieved 10 points. When we look at the full table, we can see we are comfortably in a playoff position at the moment, but there are a number of teams in and around us that have the same amount of points. We are only 3 points off of the top of the table, and I think it is likely we are going to progress to the next phase of this competition. Some of the players to shout out at this stage of the season, beginning with Andrew Omobamidele. He's been absolutely fantastic, sat in with Sarr, forming a formidable defensive partnership. Ben Chilwell may seem like he's on a downward trajectory for his career, but he has played some fantastic football and really has chipped in with 4 assists across 22 games. And Diego Moreira also deserves a shout out, scoring 9 goals and providing 5 assists across 19 appearances. The other thing that the winter break means is that we are now another step closer to the January transfer window, and as I had the summer transfer window turned off, it means it will be the first opportunity to bring new faces to the club. We do have a transfer budget of £3.3 million, so not a lot of money to work with. It'll be interesting to see what we can do in January. When the January transfer window did open, I decided that with the team playing so well, I wouldn't really sign any established first teamers, but what I did do was look to invest the money in players for the future. The first player that I signed was a 19-year-old Kazakh player called Ramazan Bagdat. He's a player that can play up front or off of the left wing. I think he has some brilliant potential. He scores well in his pace and his jumping reach. In terms of his technicals, his finishing, first touch and heading. This is definitely a player for the future. As soon as he joined the club, a load of teams inquired about taking him straight on loan. But I think I'm going to keep him for my first team, just in case we need to throw him in at the end of the season. The other player that we would sign is another player for the future. This is Matthias Siltanen, a central midfielder, 18 years old, Finnish player. He cost around £2.5 million, which was an absolute bargain. Looking at him, he's ready-made to go into the first team with great first touch, passing, tackling. In terms of his mentals, he scores well for his anticipation, concentration, decisions and determination. And also in the physicals, he's ready for adult football in terms of his agility, his pace, his stamina. This is a player that I think is really going to go on and fight for a first team place quickly. Could even be one of those players that draws out along the 10 years and develops into one of my standout players. When the league action kicked back off, we travelled to Nice as we looked to keep our good momentum going. Luckily, thanks to goals from Ben Chilwell, who continues to impress, and Emmanuel Amiga, we would secure another 3 points on the road. The next league game will be another tough one as we travel to face Lille. We would get off to a fantastic start thanks to a great goal from Le Marchal. Lille, though, would fight back and equalise in the 47th minute thanks to Perraud. The game was set up finally when Le Marchal would score the winner 6 minutes from time to gain us another 3 points. Sadly for us, after the game it was revealed that Kendry Paez had torn his PCL, and with that, his loan move was terminated and he heads back to Chelsea for his rehab. Once again, we suffer a huge injury just before we play PSG. So once again, we are back for the big game. We're going to talk through the PSG game as we kick off. What can he do here? Plays into the middle. It is blocked at the near post by Neves, but it means he's now in space as Barco plays it across the box. Falls to Moriero, scores from the edge of the box. Curling left foot effort. 1-0, 9 minutes on the clock. Let's go. He's going to take him on now. Can he force him out wide enough to slow him down? He can. But PSG do have a player in the box. He beats the man. He's in the box. He chips it up. And there is Neves with the equaliser. Disappointing. Architects of our own downfall there. It's 1-1 then as the second half is kicking off. Let's see if we can push on from that early goal and conceding the equaliser. Can we get another one and take 3 points here? Le Marchal with the ball wide out to Ben Chilwell. He's going to run at his man. Can he beat him? He turns back, finds Barco. Barco out to Siltonen, who plays to Le Marchal, who plays it to Højbjerg. He has a shot and he scores from the edge of the box. It's 2-1 and it's Højbjerg with his first goal of the season, I think. That was a fantastic finish. He's going to beat the player. Can we get somebody to the ball? Because Dembele, we do not want him to shoot, and unfortunately he lays it off to Fabian, and he has made it 2-2. We could not hold the lead for more than a couple of minutes. Moriera to Panicelli. Panicelli through to Baghdad. Baghdad has scored. We are 3-2 up with 9 minutes. What a crazy couple of minutes. First to go 2-1 up, then to lose it's 2-2, and then it's 3-2. He's going to try and beat the man, gets held up, turns back. Marquinhos back to Dembele. We have intercepted the ball with Siltonen, who has played fantastic, and there goes the final whistle. Bang on, 96 minutes. We have won the game 3-2. What a fantastic game. What a shift some of these players have put in. Brilliant. We have absolutely dominated them. We conceded twice from 3 shots. We have absolutely battered them. This is a massive statement in our intent to go and win this title. So after that important victory against PSG, this is what Ligue 1 now looks like. We are top of the table for the first time this season. We have a 1 point lead over PSG thanks to beating them home and away. There is a long way left to go in the season. But looking at this now, it looks very good that we are on a good run of form. We should be beating some of the teams that are lower in the table. And there is a gap now forming to Lille in third. So even if we need that buffer, should we not win the league, second place definitely looks on. So important. We are going to kick on into this season and see what happens next. As we look to push on into the season, we would also compete in the other competitions. Firstly, we would play in the Coupe de France, coming up against PSG and losing in the quarter-finals. In the Europa Conference League, qualified out of the league phase in 7th place, setting up a round of 16 match against Levski Sofia, who sadly would beat us on penalties after we struggled past them in a 1-1 draw with a game that ended up in extra time and losing on penalties. Back in the league, our form had started to stutter also, as we suffered back-to-back 0-0 draws, and that saw us drop points before we got back to winning ways against Nantes. Despite our patchy form, we were still leading the way in Ligue 1. PSG on level games were 2 points adrift. We are now beginning to dream. The first game of the run-in would be against Nice. We would take the lead and everything looked fine until an equaliser rocked us. We couldn't take another chance in the game and it was 2 points dropped. Sadly for us, we would not recover from that game. We dropped points once again as we fell to a defeat at the hands of Brest. The title challenge was over. We now had to make sure that we would finish in second place. We would finish season 1 off with a home game against Monaco. We started brightly and were rewarded when Barco converted an early penalty. Sam Amomayo would get a second and we would finish the 25-26 season off with 3 points. And so that ends the first season. We would end up finishing in second place, running PSG close, maybe a little bit of inexperience within our team, or maybe not being that team involved in a title race before really showed at the end of the season. We would only finish 4 points behind, and across the 34 games, we would win 24, draw 5, and lose 5 times, and that would qualify us for the Champions League. In terms of our highest rated players across the season, Ben Chilwell would come out with the highest average rating. Even though he is a player now getting into the end of his career, he's a player that is really excelling. Now he has made the move to Ligue, and he would finish his first season at Strasbourg with a 7.49 average rated season across all competitions. Our top goal scorer for the season would be no surprises. It was Emmanuel Amiga. Wasn't sure whether I should use him to the degree that I had, but with Panicelli getting injured early on in the season, it really meant that we needed to lean on him early, and he would continue to play throughout the season. Sadly, now moving on to Chelsea, he leaves us having scored 20 goals from 38 appearances across his final season at the club. And even though Ben Chilwell was our top assister across the season, the player I wanted to give a shout out to is Valentin Barco. Moving into midfield, he's really excelled in that position, and I'm really looking forward to kicking on and seeing what we can get from him as we progress through these 5 seasons. In terms of the new players, I would throw Ramazan Baghdad in a lot quicker than I thought I would. When we signed him, I thought he was a player for the future, but we actually gave him 5 appearances across the season, and he would go on to score that important goal against PSG. He's showing some positive signs in a lot of the areas of his attributes. And the other new signing, Matthias Siltanen, would go on to become a first-team regular. He would make 21 appearances since signing for the club and has made positive steps everywhere. He's really a player that is going to cement himself in that midfield, and I think he's a fun one that we're going to watch develop across these 5 years. I think he could be integral to what we do at the club. As the curtain falls on season number 1, the players are about to jet off on their well-earned holidays or off to the World Cup if they receive a call-up. As for me, I'm going to go off and ponder what we do next. I think there is real scope to take this club forward. When we get our transfer budget for season number 2, I'm going to try and invest it as wisely as I can. After the summer break, I set about putting my plans in motion. Whilst looking at squad planning, it became obvious we had 2 clear areas of weakness. Due to Mike Pender's loan ending, we were short a goalkeeper, and Ben Chilwell was our only established left-back. The data hub showed we had played some impressive football in the 25-26 season, as it revealed we were performing much better than average in nearly every area of our game. In terms of the club's vision, the board was still looking to be ambitious, as they set us the task of growing the club's reputation and reaching the Champions League proper. Our initial transfer budget would be set at 14.75 million, and I would look to spend wisely following Penders and Sarr returning to Chelsea, and Rafael Luis returning to Benfica after I declined to make his transfer permanent after signing Siltanen. After the loanees left the club, it was time to get to work on transfer business. Now, there would be a number of players that would leave the club, and the first of which was Julio Enciso. Manchester City came in with a bid of £43 million. I thought Chelsea would get involved. They did not. I accepted the bid and we moved the player on. I felt at this point it was probably better to take the money because I didn't know what was going to happen with the player in the long term, and it worked out that we got £43 million to play with. The next player to leave was a player that I actually didn't want to move on, but Ismail Decore had rejected a contract and didn't want to run the risk of him running the contract down. We put him out to transfer room and Fulham came up with a bid of £15 million. I deemed that was a good enough offer. We took the money and moved the player on. Also following him out of the club would be Seydou Sow. Juventus came in with an offer. I felt he was the weak link in our defensive options, and I also thought that investing the money of around £3.5 million, we would be able to replace him with somebody much stronger. And the final player that we moved on was Oscar Pereira. He'd already spent a season away from the club out on loan, and when he returned to the club, Atletico Madrid came in with a fair offer, and I felt now was the time to cash in. Even though he's only 20, and probably had a lot more of development in him. I felt that the offer that they were putting up would allow us to reinvest in the first team, so we took the cash. So with the players that have left the club boosting our transfer kitty, now would be the time to start to buy the players that would mould the club for the remainder of the save. The first place that I went for a player was Brazil. I signed Brazilian wonder kid Del. He will come into the club to provide some competition for Panicelli at the top end of the pitch. At the age of 18, has fantastic scope for development. Already begins with the team with some promising attributes. He scores highly in his physicals, scores highly in his technicals. This is a player that I really am going to look to develop as we go along. The next player that we would sign would address one of the weaknesses in our squad, as we signed Marvin Hubel to be our first choice goalkeeper. He's a little bit older than some of the other players we are going to sign throughout the save, but at the age of 23, he's a wise head on young shoulders, should make a great choice as our first choice goalkeeper. Next up, we signed depth at the goalkeeper position. We picked up Justin Bengui Zhao. He cost just a couple of £1 million from Lyon. And at the age of 21, will be a backup to Marvin Hubel. I think this could be a real bargain. We're going to look to throw him in for cup games and get him a bit of first team experience. But with him being a backup, there is pretty much no risk. He's young, he's French, and he's cheap. I think this is a fantastic signing that we'll see develop as we go along. The next player that arrives at the club would also address one of our issues in the squad. This is Marvin Ackerhoman, and he's going to be our left back to provide competition to Ben Chilwell. He cost just £2 million. He arrives from Switzerland, and I think he's one that we're going to get to plug in and give some first team football. At the age of just 19, he has fantastic scope for development. We would also add Thibaut Delphis. He's a player that comes in, again, a cheaper option that was recommended by the scouts. Picked him up for around £1.6 million. He isn't really going to be a first teamer, but as you can see, as an emergency backup player, he's one that we're going to plug into the squad. Can rotate when we need to give players some rest, and I think is a sound option in defence. The next player to arrive would be one of our top targets at centre-back. This is Yon Gadou, as we bring him back to French football from Red Bull Salzburg. He's a player that is going to slot straight in, give competition to players like Omobamidele and Koulibaly. And I think he could even surpass both of those. At the age of 19, he's a bargain at around £10 million. Next up is a player that we would take on loan using that link up with Chelsea as we sign Marc Jou, another striker at the top of the pitch to provide competition for Panicelli and Del. Hopefully he can come in and fill that gap vacated by Amiga. Looking at the player, he's one of those that is going to develop. And luckily for us, there is a clause in his contract to sign the player for £10 million if his loan is a success. And the other Chelsea player that we would sign is a player that I got very excited about when I saw he was available for loan, as we pick up Dario Asugo just for the season. This is a defensive midfielder that I think has brilliant scope to develop in the future. Unfortunately, no buy clause in his contract, but we're going to make the best of it and use him as that defensive midfield destroyer. So those are the transfers. That is the business that we have complete. As we move into the new season, we are now going to look to really kick on as a club. Fingers crossed we can build on what we had from the first season and really kick on as we move into the 26-27 season. The 26-27 season would kick off at home as we hosted Auxerre. With a number of new faces in the squad, we would have been forgiven for a slow start, but it wasn't the case, as some brilliant link-up play from our Chelsea loanees put in Moriera to make it 1-0. We soon doubled our lead as Jou went from provider to scorer, and a third was slotted home by Barco to start with 3 goals and 3 points. Following on from that, we faced Lyon in a tough matchup. Well, it should have been a tough matchup, but we started fast, taking the lead after 10 minutes thanks to Sam Amo Amior. We quickly added a second as we capitalised on some poor distribution from the keeper and wrapped up the points as Nanasi's solo run hit the back of the net. The next game would be our Champions League debut. We put the league to the side for one moment as we host Red Bull Salzburg in our first ever Champions League game. Obviously, we are going to try and take it all in and put our best foot forward. Champions League games are big, big nights, and I think the club can really show themselves off in a positive light. Hopefully we can take that first step along the path to going on to bigger and better things by overcoming Red Bull Salzburg. The players enter the playing field. They know it is a big night. Hearing the Champions League anthem, lining up with the Champions League logos around the stadium, it's one of those occasions that we really look forward to. And I think we're in for a treat of a game. Free kick from the right-hand side. Barco is going to swing it in left-footed. No, he's not. He plays to Siltner, who has the shot that's blocked. Comes back out to Amor, and it hits Koulibaly on the way through. And we take the lead after just 5 minutes of the game. Baghdad cuts inside his man. He's into the midfield. He plays it through for Dell, who's in on goal. Takes it wide, has to cut back. Plays the ball back to Chilwell on the edge of the box, who fires the shot in. And it's gone straight through a crowd of players into the back of the net. 2-0, 17 minutes on the clock. I have a free kick now on the left-hand side. Siltner is going to swing this one in. Plays it towards the back post. Goes over everybody, and there's Højbjerg at the back post to head it in. 3-0 in the first half. 43 minutes gone. A perfect first half performance has led to a 3-0 scoreline. Can we kick on in the second half? Ratkov has the ball, plays it forwards to Bischoff. Can we close him down? We cannot. It's 3-1. And all of a sudden, they have a lifeline in the game. Bischoff keeps it in on the left-hand side. Beats the player. He's into the box. We need to close him down. We don't. What is going on here? All of a sudden, we were in control. Now it's 3-2. Chilwell runs forwards with the ball. He's going to play up the line to Moriera, who gets outside of the defenders. He's into the box. He beats one. He beats another. And he fires home to kill the game off. 4-2. Should be game over in the 89th minute. And as the full-time whistle blows, what an absolutely incredible introduction to the Champions League. A 4-2 victory, 3-0 up at half-time. We made it difficult for ourselves, but we get 3 points from our first Champions League game. And it's 3 valuable points towards the league phase. So after the first 10 match days, we find ourselves in 3rd place in the table. We would be sat just behind PSG and Marseille. PSG would have the same amount of points, both of us being on 23. They had a better goal difference, but it was Marseille leading the way as they have 8 wins and 2 draws in the first 10 games to have 26 points. We would have 7 wins, 2 draws and a single loss coming at the hands of PSG to be sat on 23. It's all positive in terms of Ligue 1. And in the Champions League, after the first 2 match days, we would find ourselves sat in 6th place in the league phase. We would be on 4 points after winning the first game, drawing the second. There are a host of teams on 4 points also. There are currently just AC Milan, PSG and Barcelona that sit on 6 from 6. At the start of the season, some of the new faces were showing signs of settling in really quickly. Marc Zhu would start the season with 7 starts, 4 goals and a 7.06 average rating, and that already prompted me to trigger that £10.5 million clause that was in his contract, as he would join the club on a permanent next summer. Marvin Hubel was turning in impressive performances, justifying our choice as our first choice goalkeeper. And Dell would be showing signs of improvement, being a rotation piece early on in his first season at the club. As we begin the run-up to the winter break, we would encounter Marseille in a top-of-the-table clash. In a hard-fought game, we would walk away with the 3 points, as Moriera opened the scoring, and Amo Amor would score the winner in an important statement win. In the Champions League, we would face off against Ajax as they visit the Stade de la Meinau. At this point, we were in fine form. We ran out 6-0 victors. Barco gave us the lead. Koulibaly would make it 2. Moriera makes it 3 just 3 minutes later. Le Martial then scored just after half-time. Amo Amor would put us 5-0 up. For Koulibaly would wrap up the 3 points as he made it 6-0. In the final league game before the winter break, we would face Toulouse away from home. We would turn in a fine performance as Gadou opened the scoring with a header, before Sam Amo Amor would fire past the keeper. Moriera made sure the 3 points were secure with a fine finish inside the box. As we head off for the winter break, we are hot on the heels of both PSG and Marseille in the hunt for the title. With 41 points from 17 games, we have played some brilliant football to be within touching distance at the top of the table as we head into the January transfer window. With a heavy amount of signings coming to the club in the summer, I decided to have a quiet January window, as the only business done was exciting winger Matisse Albert arriving at the club from Dortmund for £15 million. The team had hit a fine run of form, and the numbers in the data hub showed we were excelling in all areas of our game. Dario Asugo was highlighted for being a standout performer in midfield. Koulibaly was performing above average for his defending, and Sam Amo Aimyor was a standout in the wide areas. On the pitch, it was club captain Ben Chilwell leading by example, as he is the highest rated player at the club. Valentin Barco continues his growth in central midfield as he contributes 20 goal contributions in 24 matches, and it would be Diego Moreira, buoyed by his new contract, who will be the club's leading scorer at this point. With the club fighting on all fronts still, it should be an exciting second half of the season. Our first chance of lifting some silverware would come in the shape of the Trophée des Champions as we faced off against PSG. It would prove to be a tight game as we took the lead through Moreira before PSG equalised with 17 minutes to go to force the game into a penalty shootout. Vitinha stepped up first and smashed down the middle. Barco scored our first penalty with a low strike. Kvaratskhelia then parried his penalty past Hubel. Marc Jou hit the post as it looked to be slipping away. But the very next penalty would be saved by Hubel to keep us in it. When Chilwell's penalty was saved, it looked to be advantage PSG once again. And when Doué tucked it away, PSG surely had one hand on the trophy. Le Marchal kept us in it with a powerful strike, before João Neves saw his penalty saved by Hubel. When Siltanen smashed home, it was level as we now move on to sudden death. Zaire Emery then converted, before Hülsberg levelled again. Barcola then smashed his effort off the post, which left Moreira to be the hero and score the winning penalty to win us the Trophée des Champions. The players are all lined up as Ben Chilwell waits to receive the trophy and then proudly holds it aloft as we celebrate a first trophy with Strasbourg. After the highs of winning our first trophy came the lows of losing Lucas Hülsberg. He would miss up to 2 months with a calf strain, which was a shame because the Dane had become an essential player in our team. In our final Champions League phase match, we would face off against Frankfurt at home. Marc Jou would open the scoring to give us an early lead, before Sam Amo Aimyor secured 3 points following a Frankfurt equaliser in a 2-1 win. So after that 2-1 victory, the Champions League phase would end with us finish in 13th place. We would have a record of 8 games played, 4-1, 2 draws, 2 losses, a goal difference of 4 and 14 points. Our reward for finishing in the playoffs in the league phase would be a knockout playoff round game against Villarreal. Back in league action, we would play against Guingamp and brush them aside with a dominant display. Goals from Matisse Albert, Marc Jou, Matthias Siltanen and Yoan Gadou gave us 3 more points in our quest to win the league. As of February the 7th, everything was going to plan safely through in the Champions League. We now find ourselves sat top of Ligue 1 after 21 matches. We have played 21, winning 17, drawing twice and losing twice. We are now on 53 points. And most importantly, that puts us top of the league by a single point from Marseille. PSG are clinging on now 2 points behind. It's going to get interesting for the remainder of the season. We're going to turn our attentions back to the Champions League, and then we have the run-in to Ligue 1. The first leg of the knockout playoff would be away from home in Spain. Despite a plucky performance, we would suffer heartbreak as Jose Perez scored the only goal of the game in stoppage time. In the return leg at home, we would try everything in our powers to turn the game around, and when Le Marchal gave us the lead after just 4 minutes, everyone inside the ground started to believe. Sadly for us, we wouldn't add another goal, and Jose Perez once again got in to break our hearts. 1-1 on the night was not enough. Our Champions League adventure ends at the knockout playoff round. Off the back of the Champions League elimination would come a crunch game against PSG in what would prove to be a pivotal week in our season. We would start brightly and take the lead through Moriera. Sadly for us though, that would be as good as it got, as the game became the Warren Zaire-Emery show, as he scored twice to hand us a 2-1 defeat. That now means that we relinquish top spot in the table to PSG as we begin the title race running. We will now have to dig deep to overturn them. One of our toughest games in the running would be an away trip to Marseille. We would play some fantastic football as Moriera opened the scoring to give us the lead, and Valentin Barco doubled up for an important 3 points on the road. After this game, there would be 6 games left to play. We were still only 3 points off the top, and a single point ahead of Marseille, who have had an impressive season. Next up, we faced off against Lille, who proved to be tough to break down. We would win the game by a single goal thanks to Sam Amo Amur as we keep our title hopes alive. With just 3 games to go, 3 teams were still alive for the title. We needed PSG to drop points in order to pull off a miracle. As the final games of the season kicked off, we still trailed PSG by 3 points. We would need something crazy to happen to win the league. All that we could do now is win our own game. We did just that as we beat Le Havre with goals from Le Marchal after the own goal, Marc Chou from a towering header, and Valentin Barco from the spot as we end the season in style. So after the final whistles were blew, it would turn out to be another nearly season for us. We would finish in second place once again, and this time we had pushed PSG all the way, finishing on 81 points, 3 points behind PSG. We'd finish 4 points ahead of Marseille. Once again, qualifying for the Champions League, not being able to make that final step to overtake PSG. Think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, hopefully in the new season, give them an even bigger run for their money. In terms of the league, we would end the season with the highest average rated player in the league with Ben Chilwell. We'd have the player with the most assists with Valentin Barco, and also our goalkeeper Marvin Hubel would have the most clean sheets. Once again, we would have a fantastic season in terms of the football that we played, scoring highly in nearly every area of our game. We had performed much better than average for our general performance, for our team attacking and our team defending. In the movement, we were considerably better than the norm. In the general performance, Dario Asugo was performing well above average in terms of the key statistics for his role. Sebastian Nanasi was also performing much better than a lot of the other players in the league in terms of his general performance, and Koulibaly was proving to be one of our best defenders at the club. In terms of the squad, we had some standout players this season. Marvin Hubel, our new first choice goalkeeper, would go on and be one of those players that had a fantastic first season at the club. Yon Gadou would also have an impressive first season at the club, cementing his position as first choice centre-back. Dario Asugo, one of the 2 loan players from Chelsea, played a pivotal role in our success across the season. He would play 20 times, and although he had a 6.89 average rated season, he would actually be integral to most of the things that we had done across the campaign. Matthias Siltonen had a great season. He was methodical in his work, played really well in that holding midfield position. Sam Amo Amur is another of those players who had been dangerous across the season. He would finish up with a 7.15 average rated season, scoring 16 goals with 11 assists. Matisse Albert came in the January transfer window, but would have a big impact on the team. He would make 14 appearances, including his substitute appearances He would score 4 goals and have 3 assists and score 7.32 average rated season. A very exciting start for the young American. And finally, Mark Zhu would cement his place as our starting striker. Across the season, he would play 31 times, 40 with his substitute appearances, scoring 15 goals, providing 5 assists, and having a 7.07 average rated season. That is the reason why at £10 million, he's an absolute steal, one of the loan deals from Chelsea that we are going to make permanent in the summer. So as the curtain comes down on the 26-27 season, it's one that I will look back on with pride. We have won the Trophée des Champions for the first time in the club's history and have gone on to finish second in Ligue 1 behind PSG once again, running them close, only being 3 points behind. As we head into the summer break, the big question this time around is how can we improve the team to leapfrog PSG to take that all-elusive Ligue 1 title? After another near miss in the 26-27 season, I would use the summer break to try and work out a plan as to how I can overthrow PSG. During the off-season, the club would collect some impressive recognition. Firstly, Ben Chilwell, off the back of a fantastic season and lifting the Trophée des Champions, would be voted as not only the best foreign player, but the best overall player in Ligue 1 for the 26-27 season. Lucas Högsberg was also awarded the title of Most Promising Player. Valentin Barco received an award for providing most assists, and I would be voted Manager of the Season for the 26-27 campaign. As we head into the new season, I'm given a transfer budget of 32 million to try to make improvements to my team. The club would be climbing in stature thanks to our improved league form and performance in our first Champions League campaign. In the summer, we waved goodbye to Dario Asugo as he returned to Chelsea following his loan spell. We would turn Mark Zhu's loan deal permanent. He would become our first signing of the new season. Promising Brazilian Angelo Candido would also arrive at the club after his pre-arranged transfer. Things then got interesting as a bid of 15 million arrived for Joaquin Panicelli, and we would allow him to join Leicester. The next player to depart would be Guela Doué, who was becoming unsettled and not being able to displace Lucas Högsberg, so he moved to Leeds for £17.5 million. With those deals done, it was time to strengthen. Thanks to our link-up with Chelsea via Blueco, we once again worked the loan market as we signed Dastan Satpayev on loan. We then took on Doué's replacement as Alexander Marinsky arrives at the club for £700,000. Up next, we would loan another Premier League player as we take Sver Naipan from Manchester City. Hopefully, he will give us another top quality option in midfield. I then signed Joaquin Panicelli's replacement as we pick up Argentine youth international Agustin Roberto on a free transfer from River Plate. But the final deal would be the blockbuster. Whilst looking for suitable loanees from Chelsea, I spotted that a certain Estevao was unhappy in London and launched an ambitious £32 million bid, which sees the Brazilian wonderkid arrive ahead of the 27-28 season. And so with the squad building completed, it was time to get out on the pitch as our season started with a bang as we face off against PSG on match day 1. So here we go then. It does not get any bigger than this. We are kicking off the 27-28 campaign on the road at PSG. Cross comes in, it's headed away by PSG. It's been an even game to this point. Højsberg now plays the ball to Naipan. What can he do with it? He finds Barco on the edge of the box. He skips past the defender. He's going to have a shot. And he finds the back of the net to give us a 1-0 lead after 29 minutes. There's a throw in now from the left-hand side. Chilwell throws it to Naipan, who comes across his man. Is he going to open up space for a shot? He does have a shot. No, it turns into a cross. There's Estevao on the back post to smash it home. 77 minutes gone and we are 2-0 up in Paris. And there we have it. The final whistle goes and we are going to walk away from the first game of the season with a 2-0 victory against Paris Saint-Germain. Is this setting up to be our season? Following on from our impressive opening day win against PSG, we would next invite Auxerre to the Stade de Meinau. We started brightly thanks to a well-worked goal that was taken by Matisse Albert. And when Sam Amo Amior doubled the lead, we were now on 6 points from 6 to start the new season. Our next test would come against Monaco. Once again, we played some brilliant football as Lucas Hoogsberg opened the scoring. And when the wing-back scored his second of the game to double the lead, we would go on to record another 2-0 victory. So after the first 5 games of the 27-28 season, we find ourselves top of the league. We have played 5 games. We have won all 5 games. We have a goal difference of 10. And vitally, we have those 15 points because when you're looking behind, we already have a nice gap of 6 points to PSG. Not only would they lose to us, they would lose another game in the first 5, which means that we now have a great shot at continuing this form and really opening that gap up. This really could turn in to our season. Just as things were on the up, we started to pick up some injuries. Firstly, Sven Neupan would pick up a hamstring injury in training that sidelined him for up to 2 weeks. Then, Dastan Satpayev would go away on international duty and pick up a calf strain, which would set him back 4 weeks. Despite these injuries, squad depth was good, and we kicked off our Champions League campaign against Bodo Glimt. We would travel to Norway full of confidence and open the scoring thanks to Koulibaly. 5 minutes later, we would double our lead thanks to Mark Schuh. And when we added a third goal in the second half, we secured all 3 points in our first Champions League game. Following on from that, we were back in league action against the tough Lyon side. We started the game slowly, conceding a first half goal to Satriano. In the second half, we had to dig deep and grabbed an equaliser from Koulibaly before piling on the pressure late on to force a mistake, and an own goal would help us to pick up 3 more points. As we headed towards the winter break, we would play Marseille at home. The deadlock would be broken in the second half thanks to Estevao, before a late Valentin Barco goal put another 3 points on the board as we head into the winter break. That means that after 17 league games, the table would look like this. We are top of the table, played 17, won 17, 51 goals for, a 39 goal difference, and most importantly, 51 points on the board. And just look in behind us, Paris Saint-Germain, nowhere to be seen. They have dropped points left, right and centre this season. Only winning 11 of 17 games, 4 draws and 2 losses means we now have a 14-point gap in Ligue 1. We are on course to go and win this league. We obviously cannot bow down to complacency and we need to keep pushing, but if ever there was a chance to win the league, it certainly is now. And in the Champions League, at this point we have played 6 games where we are currently sat in 9th place. We have a record of 6 games played, 3 wins, 2 draws and a single loss. We sit on 11 points and that's only 4 points behind the 2 leaders, which are Liverpool and Bayern Munich. We are well in the hunt for the playoffs to go into the knockout phases of the Champions League. In the squad, we have some standout performers, the first of which is our goalkeeper, Marvin Hubel. He's playing some brilliant football to keep clean sheets and make sure that we are winning games. Yon Gadou has developed into our first choice centre-back. He's a player that we invested in, and one at the age of 20 is only going to get better. Ben Chilwell is having another fantastic season. He's a player that just keeps on getting better and better. At this age of 30 now, you would think he may start to be on the downward part of his career, but he's having another season where he's putting a 7.54 average rated season so far, providing 8 assists from 22 games. Matthias Siltanen is another one that is performing highly this season. He's going from strength to strength in the middle of the pitch. New boy Estevao has been in and out of the team as we rotate, but he has had a big impact when he has been in the first team. He's made 6 starts so far, scoring 7 goals. Mark Schuh has proved to be a bargain for the price that we paid. £10 million made his loan deal permanent, and he has played 16 games, scoring 8 goals. And Sven Neupan has been an absolute fantastic pickup as a loan. He has gone on to play 18 times, scoring once, providing 8 assists, and is now standing on a 7.32 average rated season. With the first half of the league season now done and dusted, we start to look forward to the second half of the season. Firstly, we'll have the January transfer window, where we'll have the opportunity to try and strengthen the squad if needed, and we have some massive matches still to come in the second half of this season, starting off with back-to-back games against PSG. Firstly, another Trophée des Champions. We managed to beat them last season. We're going to have another go at doing that. And then we play them in Ligue 1. In terms of Champions League games, we play against Liverpool, Fenerbahce, and we will push into the second half of the season, high in confidence, still unbeaten in Ligue 1. When January 1st came around and the transfer window opened, I was left with a transfer budget of 5.75 million to go to work with. It was time to go bargain hunting. And the bargain player I would sign would be German wonderkid Lennart Karl from Bayern Munich for £5.5 million. Another versatile attacking player gives me plenty of options high up the pitch. The only other business done in the window would be the sale of Abakar Silla to Marseille. As the player was hinting at running his contract down, I took the £3 million that was on offer and moved him on. In the first of the back-to-back games against PSG, we would look to defend the Trophée des Champions. Sadly for us, PSG proved to be too good on the day, as Fabian opened the scoring before Vinicius Jr. got a second as PSG regained their trophy. In between the games, I had a message from Pep Guardiola about Sver Neupan. It seems the manager and player weren't happy with the role he was playing at the club and decided to recall him from the loan. Despite playing 19 games, he returns to England. The second of the two games against PSG turned out to be crazy. We started well and were putting them under pressure when we scored after 13 minutes thanks to Moriera. When he doubled the lead on 36, we were cruising. And then when Lennart Karl scored his first goal for the club to make it 3-0, it looked like the victory would be assured. PSG though would not lie down and they would pull one back just before half-time. And then Augustin Roberto restored the 3-goal advantage with the last kick of the half. In the second half, PSG threw everything at us as Vinny Jr. pulled one back. When he scored a second, we were in for a nervy finish. Luckily for us, we would hold out for a 4-3 victory. That gives us 3 more points on the board and another massive step towards a first league title. By the time we reach March the 1st, we are still sat top of Ligue 1. We have now built up a commanding lead over PSG. After 24 games, we have amassed 65 points, and that means we have a 12-point gap at the top of Ligue 1. With 10 games to go, our destiny is now in our hands. All we need to do is keep winning games and not have a wobble, and hope that PSG continue to drop points, and we will win the title sooner rather than later. In the Champions League, we would finish inside of the top 8 in the league phase. That would allow us to skip the first knockout phase, but we would be paired off against Shakhtar Donetsk in the round of 16. In terms of the squad, we now have players that are taking steps forward in terms of their development. Players such as Dell, who have integrated themselves as part of the first team more regular this season. He's made 12 first team starts, scoring 8 goals. Matisse Elba is another one taking big strides in his development. He has played in 15 first team starts, 3 goals and 7 assists for a 7.10 average rated season to this point. Sam Amo Amior is also making steps forward in his development. Now at the age of 21, he's about to start to hit the peak of his powers. In this season, he has made 18 starts with 11 goals, 4 assists and a 7.12 average rated season. And then we have Valentin Barco, who at the age of 23 is already one of our most integral players. He's one of the first names on the team sheet and has gone from strength to strength across the seasons. In the current campaign, he's played 31 times, scoring 8 goals, providing 9 assists, and he's on course for a 7.18 average rated season. As we turn our attentions back to the pitch, we would pick up a few unlucky injuries. Firstly, Ben Chilwell would pick up a calf strain against Metz, before Sam Amo Amior would suffer the same injury in training. The road to the run-in kicks off against Shakhtar, but my eyes are on the more realistic prize. I want us to wrap up that Ligue 1 title as soon as possible. As we kicked off against Shakhtar, we knew that a big performance was needed away from home. We put in just that. In a continuation of our fantastic run of form, we would simply blow them away. We would play at such a high tempo of football that they could not live with us. In a game where Estevao shined, it would actually be Del that stole the headlines, as the Brazilian would go on to score a hat-trick in a 6-0 demolition win. If the first leg was a walk in the park, the second leg was a complete madness. We would go on and win the game, but only 3-2 in a thrilling match that saw us walk into the quarter-finals 9-2 on aggregate. Back in Ligue 1 action, we would play Rennes in a game that reminded us that we are not home and dry yet. After a topsy-turvy game, we would be on the wrong end of a 3-2 defeat, which saw us lose for only the second time this season in Ligue 1. Off the back of that, we jumped back into Champions League quarter-final action as we faced off against Inter in the home leg of the tie. The game would be an even contest until a well-worked free kick saw Gadou give us the lead. We were then pegged back as Inter would strike back with an equaliser before Sam Amo Amior would fire us into a 2-1 first leg lead. In the return leg, we travelled to Italy with confidence. Sadly for us, it would be short-lived as Inter scored early to level the tie up and then doubled their lead late in the second half to win 2-0 on the night and 3-2 on aggregate. We had had a great Champions League run, which sadly comes to an end in the quarter-finals. With the disappointment of a Champions League exit behind us, we now focused on winning Ligue 1, and when PSG slipped up at the hands of Nice, we would have the opportunity to end the title race with 4 games to spare against Angers. If the players were feeling nervous before the game, it certainly did not show. We played some brilliant football early on, and when Marc Joux opened the scoring after 15 minutes, the party atmosphere kicked in. He would then go on to double his tally and our lead in the second half as we took control of the game and our own destiny to win 2-0. When the final whistle blew, we had done it. After 2 seasons of getting closer and closer to PSG, we had finally taken that next step to beat them in a title race, as we were crowned the champions of France for the first time since 1979. The players made sure they savoured every single moment of it. So with the curtain falling on the 27-28 season, it's time to have a look at the season that was and start planning for the season ahead. We would end up winning Ligue 1 by 12 points and make it look relatively easy. Although I do feel that PSG had had a season where maybe they hadn't fired on all cylinders, where they drew 6 times and lost 5 games, which is uncharacteristic for them. But we would have a fantastic season ourselves. Played 34, won 28, only 3 draws and 3 losses gave us 87 points in total. We would also have the highest goal difference in the league. In the Champions League, we would go on and achieve the objectives set to us by the board at the start of the season. They wanted us to get into the Champions League proper, out of the league phase. We would actually go on a brilliant run that would see us end up in the quarter-finals. And sadly, that run would end at the hands of Inter Milan. Across the season, we would have a number of standout performers in terms of the goal scorers. Marc Joux would be the club's top goal scorer. He would rack up 19 goals from 27 starts across all competitions. Leading the way in terms of the assist charts would be Ben Chilwell. He would also captain the club to our Ligue 1 success. Across the season, he would still be playing fantastic football despite being 31 years old now. He would have a 7.44 average rated season, 38 games. Estevao was a big money signing in the summer. He would settle in well. He would have to put up with being a bit of a rotation piece at the start of the season, but he would end his first campaign at Strasbourg with 24 starts, 14 goals, 11 assists and a 7.41 average rated season across all competitions. Valentin Barco continues to be one of the first names on the team sheet. He's a player that has gone from strength to strength, really stepping up and leading the club by example. He's a player across the season who would make 42 first team appearances with 9 goals, 10 assists and have a 7.13 average rated season. And Matthias Siltonen is going from strength to strength also. He has made 42 starts across the season, providing 2 goals and 4 assists. He has been that sweeper just in front of our defensive line, the one mopping up all of the attacks, being the midfield destroyer and the one that turns us on the front foot. He has been fantastic this season. Looking ahead to the new campaign, our staff reveal that we have no real weaknesses in the squad, so any money we have for transfers can be spent on one or two players to really improve the quality in certain positions. In terms of our budgets for the new season, we're going to be given £33.5 million to improve the playing squad. And in terms of our club objectives, the board are still keeping it simple. We still have work within the wage budget, sign players to sell for a profit, and reach the UEFA Champions League proper. So that wraps up season number 3, and our first Ligue 1 success is now in the history books. It's time to turn our attention to defending our title as we go into the 28-29 season full of optimism. After the highs of winning Ligue 1 in the 27-28 season, I approached the off-season with optimism as I hatch a plan to defend our title. The summer started with the board's announcement that due to the club's success and ticket demand, they would be looking to build a new stadium. When the end of the season awards were handed out, Ben Chilwell would be once again recognised as the league's best foreign player, and Young Gadu picks up the most promising player award. The team would also be represented by 6 players in the Ligue 1 Team of the Season. Aston Villa got the transfer window underway as they put in a £33 million bid for captain Chilwell, which was swiftly rejected. Dastan Satpayev would return to Chelsea after his loan move, but the first real big deal of the summer came as Inter would put in a £40 million offer for goalkeeper Hubel, which was too good to turn down. The next player to leave would be Martial Godo, who had struggled to make an impact in the save and joined Birmingham for £3 million. The only other outgoings would be Papa Demba Diop, who joins Mainz in Germany, and Sebastian Niassi, who is allowed to join Saint Etienne. After the departures, it was time to add reinforcements, and the first arrival is a familiar face as we signed former loanee Mike Penders on a permanent £18 million deal from Chelsea to replace Hubel. In fact, Chelsea would play a key part in the window as we signed former player Mamadou Sarr for £15 million. We then used our loan agreement with Blueco to take back Kendry Paez with an agreed future fee of £21 million. And the final deal would also be a loan with a view to buy as we take on Francesco Camada from Milan with a future £35 million option to buy. I also chose to promote Yanis Adic to the first team thanks to his performances in the reserves. So with those deals done, the squad was ready to begin the defence of its title as the 28-29 season gets underway with games against Toulouse, Angers and Auxerre. In the first game of the 28-29 season, we would come out of the blocks flying as Francesco Camada needed just 3 minutes to score on his Ligue 1 debut. Just 3 minutes after that, we would double our lead as right back Lucas Högsberg made it 2-0 after just 6 minutes. Both wing backs play a pivotal role in our attacks, and when Ben Chilwell scored our third, both would be on the score sheet. Toulouse would rally before half-time as they pulled one back to give themselves a lifeline, but Högsberg made sure to take that away as he added his second and our fourth to ensure the new season began with a 4-1 win and 3 points. After our convincing opening day home win, we next made the trip to Angers. This was looking like a frustrating game as it took us a while to find the net. We did so after 44 minutes as Kamada found the breakthrough, and then he would double up himself to make it 2-0 after 59 minutes. When Young Gadu scored a header late on, we ensured that we would start the new season with 2 wins on the bounce. With us sitting on 6 points from 6, we made the trip to Auxerre. This looked like a tricky game on paper, but we would actually turn up and make it look simple. A 5-1 win would be secured as Le Marchal, Leonard Carl, Samamo Moya and Diego Moriera would get on the score sheet to give us another convincing 3 points. After our first 3 games, we would be sat in second place in the league, having played 1 game fewer than PSG. Our great start to the season included scoring 12 goals across 3 games. Once again, we have PSG in our sights in the race for another Ligue 1 title. Despite the positive start in terms of results, we would actually suffer some bad luck in terms of injuries. Firstly, Valentin Barco suffered a reoccurrence of his hernia, and then Mark Xu would suffer from sprained ankle ligaments. With a tough run of games ahead, we pushed on towards the halfway point of the season with confidence. In our first Champions League game of the season, we make the trip to Italy to face off against Napoli. It's a game we would carry our great league form into as Moriera opens the scoring. Mark Xu would strike to double our lead, and then he would rise brilliantly to head home his second and our third before half-time. In the second half, we added a fourth through Amo Amor before a late Jack Grealish goal would pull one back for Napoli. It was a brilliant start to the Champions League campaign and a first 3 points on the board. Back in league action, we faced off against PSG in the biggest game of the season to date. Sadly for us, we started the game slowly, and when Warren Zaire-Emery scored in the first half, it looked like we were in trouble. Luckily for us though, the half-time team talk seemed to kick us into gear as Mark Xu levelled the scoring, before Matisse Albert would grab the winner with pretty much the last kick of the game. It was a brilliant comeback and could prove to be a statement win in the first half of the season. After our impressive win against PSG, we would continue our fine form in the run-up to the winter break. In a home game against Lens, we would collect 3 more points as Kendry Paez scored a penalty, and a superb Estevao goal secured a 2-0 victory. In the final league game in December, we took on Montpellier. Kendry Paez continued his fine run of form to open the scoring, before a well-worked team effort saw Francesco Camada score at the back post. Diego Moriera would make it 3-0 in the second half, before Le Marchal wrapped up the game and the first half of the season with a 4-0 victory. At the winter break, we would sit top of Ligue 1. After playing 17 games, we had 14 wins and 3 draws to sit on 45 points. Unlike last season, PSG were right on our tails, as our lead over them is just a single point as we reach the halfway point of the league campaign. In the Champions League, we currently sit in 8th place. After a great start, we would suffer with patchy form, meaning we had won 3 of 6 games, with 2 draws and a defeat to Sparta Prague. The important thing is we are on course to qualify for the knockout phase. Francesco Camada has started life at the club in brilliant form, having scored 5 goals in 10 starts. Fellow striker Mark Xu would be asserting himself as our main man though. 12 goals in all competitions was a big reason for our early season successes. Captain Ben Chilwell was rewarding us for turning down Aston Villa's advances. He has 11 assists already this season. Further up the left-hand side of the pitch, Matisse Albert was starting to really fulfil his potential. We now turn our attentions to the January transfer window and the second half of the season. When the January transfer window opened, I instantly started to evaluate the squad. I made the decision to allow Yanis Adic to join Wrexham on loan to aid his development, and Andrew Amabamadeli was the subject of a £6 million bid from Al Ettifaq, which I thought was good value for the player. To replace him, I would sign Portuguese defender Rafael Motta for £3 million, and then boosted our midfield with the signing of German wonderkid Kenneth Eichhorn for £12 million. With the squad well balanced, we headed into the Trophée des Champions in great form as we faced off against Rodez. We started the game slowly though, as Rodez shocked us by opening the scoring in the first minute of the game. Luckily, that did not last long as Diego Moriera levelled the scoring 2 minutes later, before Valentin Barco fired home to double the lead from the penalty spot. Dell would add a third for us just before half-time to give us one hand on the trophy, and when Matisse Albert scored a fourth late on, we would end the game 4-1 and lift the Trophée des Champions once again. In the Champions League, we would face off against Chelsea at home in the battle of the Blue Coat teams. Chelsea took an early lead as Cole Palmer scored a volley from the edge of the box after just 9 minutes. Luckily for us, we would fight back as Mark Xu scored the equaliser just before half-time as the game ended 1-1 in a fantastic battle between the two teams. Back in league action, we travelled to Monaco in a tough fixture. It has become a pattern that we start games slowly, as once again we concede the first goal as Mika Bireth made it 1-0. It would get even worse for us when Beraldo scored again just before half-time. It looked like we would be leaving empty-handed, but Matisse Albert would get us a goal back late on in the game, before Sam Amo Amur grabbed an equaliser to make it 2-2 with the last kick of the game. Despite making it difficult for ourselves, this was a valuable point. As January came to a close, we found ourselves sat in second place in the league. Despite being unbeaten in 21 games, we had drawn 4, and that was enough points dropped to sit behind PSG by just 1 point at this stage of the season. In the Champions League, we would finish the league phase in 16th place. We had won 3, drew 3, and lost 2 of our 8 games in the competition to finish on 12 points. This meant that we would be in the knockout playoff round as we were paired up with Red Bull Leipzig. Marc Zhu was having a stellar season leading the line. The striker had scored 16 goals in 17 games in all competitions. Ben Chilwell was showing why it was the right move to turn down the transfer bid for him in the summer, as he is the leading assister and highest average rated player at the club. Chelsea loanee Kendry Paez is turning in some fantastic performances in his second spell at the club, and Francesco Kamada has settled in well. With us battling hard in all competitions, we pushed on into the latter stages of the season. In the knockout playoff round of the Champions League, we travelled to Germany for the first leg, where a Matisse Albert goal would give us the advantage in the tie. In the home leg, we once again turned in a professional performance as Sam Amo Amur gave us another 1-0 win and a 2-0 aggregate scoreline to move on in the competition. Our reward for beating Leipzig would be a draw with another German team in the round of 16 as we face off against Bayern Munich. In the home leg, we played some good football and cashed in on it as Le Marchal scores the only goal of the game as we win 1-0. In the return leg, we travelled with confidence, but our bubble would be burst as Joshua Kimmich put Bayern ahead before Moritz Kjærgaard would make it 2-0 after 32 minutes. We would fight back, and it looked like we had a chance as Valentin Barco pulled one back to make it 2-1 on the night. But sadly for us, Bayern were just too strong, and when Kusiasare made it 3-1, our Champions League campaign would end in the round of 16. After the disappointment of the Champions League exit would come the biggest game of the season as we face PSG in a top-of-the-table clash. It would be a game where, despite us not being the better team, we would capitalise on a Diego Moreira goal to take a massive 3 points in the title race as we win 1-0. With that massive 3 points on the board, we reached 30 games into the season. Amazingly, we were still unbeaten. Even more amazingly, we still were not top of the league. As it stands, both PSG and ourselves are on 80 points. They keep top spot thanks to their superior goal difference. After PSG was so disappointing last season, they have stepped up, and we are about to experience a run-in that is so close, and 4 wins from the remaining 4 games may still not be enough for us to win the league. The run-in kicked off with PSG beating Nice 2-0 thanks to goals from Ayoub Bouadi and Bradley Barcola. This put the pressure on us to perform as we take on Rennes. It was a challenging game to begin with, and when Laporte opened the scoring, we looked in trouble. Luckily, we would come out in the second half all guns blazing as Moreira levelled the scores in the 50th minute, before Marc Zhu gave us the lead with 28 minutes to go. When Mamadou Sarr grabbed a third late on, it was confirmed that we would have 3 points, a vital win, and we would be staying toe-to-toe with PSG. The next game would be a walk in the park for PSG as they applied the pressure once more. A 5-0 victory thanks to goals from Vinny Jr., Warren Zaire-Emery, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia and João Neves ensured that our match against Lens was another must-win. For the first time this season, my players looked nervy as we wasted opportunities. Luckily for us, it would be Mark Zhu who capitalised on a defensive error that gave us a 1-0 win. The goal difference at this point was uncatchable, but 3 points was all that mattered at this stage of the season. In the penultimate game of the season, PSG would travel to Lille in what should have been a tough game. Sadly for me, they made easy work of it as they walk away with a 3-0 win and 3 more points. For us, it continues the must-win trend, and if my players look nervy against Lens, they certainly showed no nerves against Montpellier. This time it was our turn to score for fun, as Mark Zhu opened the scoring. He himself would then go on and add a second to make it 2-0. A great team move then put him in for his hat-trick and he obliged, meaning we were cruising at half-time. The second half would be the same as Matthias Siltonen fired in to make it 4-0, before Diego Moreira wrapped the game up nicely as we win 5-0. This means we would force the title race down to the final day and a showdown decider in a one-game shootout. And so this is it. 37 games played to this point could not separate the teams in the points tally. As the players took to the pitch, it was clear that all we could do is beat Angers and hope that somehow, some way, Le Havre could get any kind of result at home against PSG that would help us to retain our title. We started the game brightly as we crafted our first chance of the game in the 7th minute through Moreira. The keeper though was equal to it and we had to continue to push for the opening goal. Luckily for us, we wouldn't have to wait too long, and that breakthrough would come via Matthias Siltonen as he smashed home to send us top of the table as things stand. Sadly, that optimism was short-lived as it flashed up that Pancho had opened the scoring at Le Havre. PSG were now back in control of their own destiny. We responded to that the only way we could, which was to score another goal, to make sure we were in a position if PSG somehow slipped up. Sam Amo Amior would double our lead. By the 28th minute, it looked like we were cruising and doing our part with ease, as Lucas Högsberg's fantastic run ended with a goal to put us 3-0 up after 28 minutes. Straight from kick-off though, Angers showed us why we couldn't be complacent. Spendy would go on and pull a goal back to keep us on our toes. We would not take our foot off the gas though, as Matthias Siltonen would score his second goal of the game on 39 minutes to restore our 3-goal advantage. This meant at half-time, with us 4-1 up and PSG still winning in Le Havre, we would be second if results didn't change. We are on the verge of an invincible season and won't even win the league. As the second half kicked off, we continued to push forward looking for goals. Moreira would hit the post from close range. Sadly for us, the time was now passing quickly, and there was no sign of a Le Havre comeback. When the killer message filtered through that PSG had doubled their lead, Vitinha would strike the goal that snatched the title away from us for good in the 81st minute. As the clock wound down in Angers, we had done all that we could, and when PSG scored a third through Kvaratskhelia, it was definitely now all over. So a 92-point invincible season wasn't enough to topple PSG in the 28-29 season, as goal difference hands the Ligue 1 title to Paris Saint-Germain. So it wasn't meant to be. We had been so close, but in the end, it seems so far. Still though, it is not a season of doom and gloom. For the first time in the club's history, we had gone an entire 34-game season without tasting defeat. We end the campaign with a club record 29 wins, 5 draws, no defeats, and 92 points, which is also a club record. There's no shame in losing the title in a season like this, where PSG have also been brilliant. In the Champions League, we ended the tournament in the round of 16, which will be the benchmark for Season 5. Once again, across the season, there have been some standout performers. Ben Chilwell, consistent as ever, finished the season as top assister and with the highest average rating. Mark Xu had his best season to date by scoring 26 goals across all competitions. Sam Amo Amur is developing into a real leader on the pitch as he scored 17 goals and provided 12 assists in all competitions. Matthias Siltnen has turned himself into my midfield general. Estevao will turn in his best season in the Strasbourg shirt, and loanees Francesco Kamada and Kendry Paez will both have their deals made permanent in the summer. Overall, the club's finances are looking healthy as we have nearly £90 million in the bank and £38 million as a transfer budget as we ponder how we can strengthen the squad going into the 29-30 season. After the disappointment of the 28-29 season, I moved into the summer break motivated to do anything it took to get our league title back in the upcoming season. After 4 years of hard work, the supporters and the board were impressed with the work I had done and were excited for the new season too. The board would also announce that planning permission had been approved for the new stadium, which will be a nice gift to hand over to the next manager. Yon Gadou, Ben Chilwell and Mark Xu were recognised for their performances in our invincible season as they represented the club in the Ligue 1 Team of the Season. With a squad capable of being invincible, it was clear that wholesale changes wouldn't be necessary. We allowed Abdul Otara to join Napoli as the only outgoing in a quiet transfer window in the summer. In terms of incomings, we took up the option on Kendry Paez's loan to sign him for £27 million, and did likewise with Francesco Kamada to sign him for £35 million. The only external signing will be that of Swiss left-back Olivier Mambois, who arrives to back up Ben Chilwell in a £1.3 million deal. With the transfers complete, the board set out the objectives for the season ahead. They wanted us to reach the Champions League phase, and to qualify for the competition next season through our league position. So with the transfers done and the expectations set, it was time to kick off the new season as we travel to Nantes. Our season began on the road against Nantes. We were brilliant from the get-go, as Lucas Hoogsberg got the 29-30 season up and running after just 8 minutes. This, though, would be a short-lived lead, as Nantes drew back level not long after, and then went ahead through a penalty in the 52nd minute. Luckily for us, this seemed to wake up Matisse Albert, as he became a man possessed, first scoring the equaliser, then putting us back ahead just 3 minutes after that, and then he would add the finishing touches to the game with his hat-trick and our 4th goal to start the season with 4 goals and 3 points. Following on from that would be a more routine game against Metz. We would take the lead through Sam Amo Amur after 39 minutes, before Mark Xu doubled up in the second half to ensure we started the season with 6 points from 6 available. Next up, we welcomed Lorient in a frustrating game. We took the lead after 22 minutes thanks to Yon Gadou, but were soon pegged back as Alex Forez grabbed an equaliser for Lorient. After their goal, they sat in and tried to see the game out. We took our time to work it out, but finally got the breakthrough thanks to Amo Amur, and made the point safe when Mark Xu made it 3-1. A tough day's work, but another 3 points on the board. After the first 3 games, we had maximum points, and for a change, it was Nice that were accompanying us. PSG had already dropped points, and it would be up to us to kick on and capitalise on their slip-up. Our first chance to open the gap to PSG would arrive on matchday 7 as we hosted the champions. Sadly for us, we would start slow as Kvaratskhelia opened the scoring after just 3 minutes. That setback would knock us for 6 as PSG pressed forward and quickly doubled up in the 13th minute. Once again, it was Kvaratskhelia with the goal. In the second half, we looked to mount a fight back, and when Estevao grabbed a late goal, it set up a tense finish. Sadly, time was against us, and our first loss in 41 matches could be an important one in the title race. After the PSG setback, we looked to bounce back quickly, and we had the chance with a trip to Lyon. The game started at a blistering pace as both teams looked to attack. Luckily for us, it would be Marc Joux who opened the scoring to give us the lead after 6 minutes. When Lennart Karl added a second from the penalty spot just 3 minutes later, we were now cruising. Well, that was until Lyon pulled one back just before half time to make it 2-1. In the second half, it was Matthijs Albert who once again sprung to life as he made it 3-1, and then he would seal all 3 points with his second of the game on 65 minutes. This was the perfect bounce back in our title bid. Sadly, one bit of bad news would come after the Lyon game, as Valentin Barco would be sidelined for up to 2 months with a recurrence of a previous calf strain. Next up was match day 4 in the Champions League as we hosted the might of Barcelona. This was a fantastic game of football which we looked to take control of early as Yoan Gadou opened the scoring in the second minute of the game. We would then go on to dominate, but it took us until the 86th minute to make our dominance count, as Ben Chilwell would make it 2-0. Just as we thought we were comfortable, Barcelona struck back immediately to make it a nervy finish. We though would hold firm as we take a 2-1 victory and 3 vital points in the Champions League. After the game, the injuries were now piling up, as this time it would be Lennart Karl who suffered a fractured lower leg and would miss up to 8 weeks. After the first 13 games, we were now top of the league with a 2-point gap to PSG. Once again, they have a superior goal difference, which could be vital if we don't build up a big enough advantage in the league. In the Champions League phase, we have picked up 9 points from our first 4 games, and we sit in 8th place amongst a host of other teams that are on the same tally. Marc Joux is once again our leading scorer at this point of the season. He has 10 goals in 12 starts. There is interest in him being shown by Manchester United, so I may have to fight to keep him at the club. Ben Chilwell is still performing at a high level for the club, once again leading the way with assists. Matthijs Siltenen has become Mr. Reliable in the team also. The 22-year-old is playing some brilliant football as PSG is sniffing around the player, but it's a hands-off from me. So with the season finally poised, we look to kick on towards the winter break and the January window. We finished the first half of the league season with a game against Toulouse. This would be Francesco Camada's game to come alive. He opened the scoring after 23 minutes and then would make sure of all 3 points as the Italian doubled up to give us a 2-0 win and make sure of 3 more important points. After the winter break, we were back in action against Nantes. A crazy start to the match saw them take the lead after 10 minutes. That lead wouldn't last long though, as Matthijs Albert, in the form of his life, equalises. Valentin Barco, back from injury, then made it 2-1 from the penalty spot. In the second half, Sam Amo-Amur made it 3-1, before a fourth added by Felix Lemarchal made us comfortable at a 4-1 scoreline. Nantes would pull one back at the end, but we start the second half of the season as we finish the last, with 3 points on the board. When the transfer window opened, PSG decided to go straight for the kill as they threw a bid of 113 million at us for Matthijs Siltenen. As previously mentioned, there was no chance that this move would happen. Manchester United were the next ones to rock up with a silly offer as they tried to loan our first choice goalkeeper. This too was shut down with a laugh. The only outgoing of the winter transfer window would be Augustin Roberto, who had fallen down the pecking order at the club, so he joins Montpellier on loan. The final incoming of the series would be a blockbuster move as we sign Arda Güler from Real Madrid for £38 million. With his creativity supplying Marc Joux and Francesco Camada, the aim will be to close the gap in the goal difference. And so, on the 2nd of February, we would still be sat top of Ligue 1. We have a 2-point lead over PSG and a record of 18 wins, 1 draw, and that's sole loss to PSG from the first 20 games. In the Champions League, we had an impressive finish to the league phase as we secure a 5th place finish. 6 wins from 8 games means we skip the knockout playoff round and head straight to the round of 16. Everything is now set up nicely for a push to the end of the season. February 10th would be a day with a ring around it. The second game against PSG and the chance to widen the gap. The players clearly remembered what had happened earlier in the season as Matisse Albert puts us 1-0 up. Then, in the run-up to half-time, it would be Matthias Siltonen who rubs PSG's face in it. A failed 113 million bid and now a goal to show them what they are missing. In the second half, it would be Mark Xu who added a third as we take firm control of the game, before Matisse Albert finished the game off to send the travelling 1,963 fans into a frenzy. What a big marker we have just put down, and a statement win to open up a 5-point gap. In the Champions League, we were drawn to face Arsenal in the round of 16. We travelled to London for the first leg when disaster struck. In the opening minute of the game, Bukayo Saka would give Arsenal the lead before Marcus Perry doubled it up in just the 3rd minute. It was a disaster of a start. We could have fallen apart, but instead we would dig deep and we got ourselves a lifeline thanks to Matisse Albert, who pulled a goal back. There's work to be done in the home leg. We kicked off knowing the task ahead. Win, and win convincingly. We started brilliantly as Matisse Albert opened the scoring to give us real optimism. When he doubled the lead on 10 minutes, there was an air of inevitability around the ground as we pushed on to seal the deal. When Sam Amo made it 3-0, we were in dreamland. And when he added the 4th goal, we were safely secure in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. What a night under the lights in the Champions League. Back in Ligue in action, we travelled away to Lille. It was another game where we started slowly, and we were punished early on, as Lille showed they weren't just there to be bowled over. We fought back in the game and managed to get back on level terms after 23 minutes thanks to Sam Amo. But in the second half, we pushed and pressed, but it would be Lille who broke the deadlock. We would fall to our second defeat of the season and suffer a massive blow in the title race. Luckily for us, the loss didn't really have too much of an impact. PSG have had their wobbles of their own, and we now find ourselves top by 10 points with just 6 games to go. We are so close to taking the title back from PSG. In the Champions League, our reward for beating Arsenal would be a quarter-final tie against Roma. Since joining in January, Arda Güler has settled in well with 4 assists in his first 12 games. Mark Xu was being as prolific as ever. He has 23 goals in all competitions. And Matisse Albert has taken a giant leap forward as he contributes 25 goals and 8 assists from the left wing. So, with 6 league games and a Champions League quarter-final to come, it's time for the run-in. Up first would be the away leg of the Champions League quarter-final. The game was finally poised for the first half an hour until Baldanzi opened the scoring in the 37th minute. In the second half, we battled to try and get back into the game, but once again, Baldanzi would punish us. We would, however, get a lifeline as Lucas Högsberg pulls one back in the 87th minute. There is work to do again in the second leg of a Champions League tie. The second leg started similar to the first, as an even contest. It was 0-0 at half-time, but the game soon sprang to life as Dovbyk opened the scoring from the penalty spot. 3 minutes later, Lucas Högsberg gave us a lifeline as he equalises. Roma would then retake the lead through Virgilio before Dell pops up in the 77th minute to make it 2-2. It looked like our time was up, but there was one final twist as Estevao scored to make it 3-2 in the 95th minute and forced the game into extra time. Sadly for us though, This would lead to heartbreak, as Cherubini would score the decisive goal to put us out 5-4 on aggregate, as the Champions League will always be the one that got away. With the Champions League disappointment behind us, we turn our attention back to the job of securing the league title. The first opportunity to do so would come in a home game against Le Havre. We were up for this one from the first whistle, as Valentin Barco put the champagne on ice from the penalty spot early on. 22 minutes later, it'd be Lucas Högsberg, new club captain, who would get the party started. At 2-0, we were cruising, and we'd see the game out with ease. And so we had done it. After the heartbreak of 12 months previously, where we had to watch PSG lift the trophy despite having an invincible season, we were back on top. League champions for the 29-30 season, and the second time in my reign at the club. What a finale to the final chapter as we lift the trophy at home in front of our fans. We would finish the season off with a 4-0 win away at Rennes, a 2-0 victory away at Toulouse, and a 0-0 draw on the final day of the season against Metz. This means that we finished the season on 92 points with a record of 30 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses. We are champions of France once again as we beat PSG by 11 points. For the first time in the save, it will be Matisse Albert who finishes the season as the club's top scorer. The American contributed 28 goals and 8 assists across the campaign. What a player, what a bargain. Ben Chilwell has undoubtedly been the best player of the entire save. Now 33 years old, he is still flying as he put up 19 assists in all competitions and had a 7.47 average rated season. Lucas Högsberg took over as captain at the start of the final season and played some brilliant football, as did Matthias Siltonen, one of my first signings and a fantastic servant. And so, my 5 years at the club comes to an end. What a journey it has been. Since my arrival at the start of the save, the club has gone from strength to strength. We have had 5 top 2 finishes, an invincible season without a league title, 2 Trophée des Champions successes, and of course, the 2 Ligue 1 titles in 2028 and 2030. I came with the ambition of winning the league and knocking PSG off of their perch, and will walk away with my head held high. Thank you for watching the series, and I'll see you on the next one.